Question 5 is asking us to take a look at the 5 sets of side lengths to determine if they form a triangle. Now, if you remember the activity we did in class, we used this inequality to determine whether or not 3 side lengths can possibly form a triangle. Now remember, C represents the longest side. So the inequality states is that the sum of the 2 smaller sides have to be greater than the longest side for it to form a triangle. Okay, so if we look at A, we have 3, 5, and 8. Well, 8 is my longest, so that means the sum of my 2 shortest, 3 plus 5, has to be greater than 8. Well, actually, 3 plus 5 is 8. And it cannot equal 8 to form a triangle. So A, option A, choice A, does not form a triangle, okay? The 2 smaller sides, when you add them together, must be greater than the longest side, okay? So B, we have 5, 7, and 13. 13 is the largest, so that means 5 plus 7 has to be more than 13, and it's not. 5 plus 7, actually, when we add it, we get 12. So option B also does not form a triangle because 12 is not greater than 13. Okay. Option C. Okay, so we need to add 2.4 and 5.7. And if those, and so when we add that together, we actually get 8.1, okay? And 8.1 is greater than 7.9. Okay, so C does form a triangle. Okay, doesn't have to, as you can tell, obviously 8.1 isn't much bigger. It's actually only 2/10 bigger, but it is bigger, so it does count. Okay. Option D, we've got 3.1, 3.1, and that has to be greater than 6.1. Well, when we add 3.1 plus 3.1, we get 6.2. And 6.2 is greater than 6.1. So D also forms a triangle. And E, we have 18.23, 18.23, and 18.23. Even if I didn't even look at the decimals, 18 and 8, when I add 18 plus 18, that's going to be greater than 18. But I hope you notice that when all 3 sides are the same length, we actually have an equilateral triangle. So I can actually do that without any of the math. So E also forms a triangle. So the 2 that do not form a triangle are A and B, where the sum of my 2 smaller sides equals my longest side. That will not give us a triangle. And when we add 5 and 7, I get 12, and that actually is not greater than 13. That's actually false. So those are the 2 options that do not form triangles for us. Okay. In number 6, it says, what is the possible range for the length of our third side here? Now, when we're still talking about how we're still going to be using this inequality where my two smaller sides have to be greater than my third side. So if I take 9 and 17, okay, just like I did in my previous problem, when I add these together, I'm going to get 26. So that means my third side, C, or my longest side, because I can flip this around, C would have to be less than 26 for it to form the triangle and to make our inequality true. But it said range. So a range indicates from some number to another number, okay? And in the example that I just did, we assumed that the missing side was the longest side. Well, what if the missing side was the shortest side? And that's how we get our range. We get our range by assuming that the missing side could also be my shortest side, which would mean 17 would be our largest side or our longest side. Okay, so to solve for A, to get A by itself, I'm going to treat this like any other algebraic problem. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. So A would have to be greater than 8. So A would have to, so this side, LM, okay, we treated LM as both possibly the shortest side and the longest side. So it's in between. Our range is going to be between 8 and 26. Now, the correct way we write this would be algebraically like this. So LM, the side we're looking for, okay, has to be, as we said, less than 26. In this case, it was C. And greater than 8. But I can also rewrite and flip this around so that way 8 is less than A, or in this case, LM. So that's why the inequalities, or we use the less than symbols to write the range properly. Because if we chose B, this would be saying, just looking at this, this would say that my missing side would have to be greater than 26. And that's not what we determined here. It's actually the sum of my two smaller sides has to be greater than the longest side. Hence, the longest side has to be less than 26. I hope that makes sense. If you need more clarification, be sure to reach out to me on that one. Okay, number 7, we have the location of 3 beehives in an apple orchard, which forms a triangle. Okay, so that means I'm going to draw a picture. Okay, it says it forms a triangle, so I'm going to draw a triangle. Now, does it matter where I label A, B, and C? No, it does not. As long as you label your vertices in order, either clockwise or counterclockwise. So, for example, I could start by saying A here, and I could put B, and then I could put C. Okay? What you can't do is jump around. Okay, you have to be consistent and you really don't have to worry about that too much with a triangle. You're going to find that more with a quadrilateral, that could be an issue. But either way, doesn't matter where you start labeling. Okay, so it says that hive A is 600 feet from hive B. Okay, so that means the distance between hive A and hive B is 600 feet. And hive B is 450 feet from hive C. So this is 450. Okay, what is the possible range for the distance between A and C? Okay, so this is the exact problem we just did. Okay, we have a triangle, so we have to find that range. So we need to use our inequality and, oh, sorry, I wrote that wrong. We need to first assume that our missing side AC is our shortest side, and then we have to assume that it could also be our longest side. And remember, our longest side must always, in our triangle, represent the C in our inequality. So that means if we assume it's the longest side, I'm going to take 450 and I'm going to add 600. And that's going to have to be, that sum has to be greater than C. So that's going to give me 1050 if I can add mentally, which you guys know that is not my strong suit. So yes, but it is 1050. Okay, so that means that for the longest side, our longest side has to be less than 1050 feet for it to form the triangle. Okay, but that's my longest side. So now I have to find out what the shortest measurement could be. So again, A plus B is greater than C. In this case, if AC is my shortest side, then that's going to make 600 my longest side. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 450 to solve for A. So the shortest side would have to be, borrow 6, I get 5, so 150 feet. Okay, so 600 minus 450. So my range, the shortest distance would be 150 feet. And my longest distance couldn't be more than 1050 feet. The shortcut to this, ladies and gentlemen, if you notice from doing these two problems, in the first instance, I added my two lengths, and then I subtracted my two lengths. So given any two distances or any two lengths of a triangle, and you're trying to find the third length, your greatest length is going to be the sum of your two sides, and your shortest length is going to be the difference of your two sides.